to our discussion on a very intriguing and fun book entitled World-Class Cooking for Solving Global Challenges. I have with me today authors Leif Edvinsson and Eunika Mercier-Laurent, whom I have had the pleasure of knowing and learning from for over the last 20 years. Professor Edvinsson is a key pioneer, a contributor to both theory and practice of intellectual capital. He's recognized with many awards, including the Brain of the Year Award, the Ken Practitioner of the Year Award in 2004. He's also Most Admired Knowledge Award on Knowledge Leadership. He has many books. He's also listed by the London Business Press as one of the 50 most influential thinkers in the world. He is listed in Who's Who and is an associate member of the Club of Rome. He is a co-founder and chairman of the New Club of Paris, focused on knowledge economy initiatives. Professor Edvinsson was educated in the University of California in Berkeley and Lund University in Sweden. Eunika is the professor of artificial intelligence and knowledge eco-innovation at EPITA in France. She is the founder of an international enterprise dedicated to knowledge and innovation management and the dissemination of a culture of innovation for the knowledge economy. She is also an expert for French and European institutions. She is a teacher and e-teacher of knowledge innovation and knowledge thinking in all forms concerning engineering and artificial intelligence. The main topic of her research work is about transforming all forms of computers into intelligent assistants of humans. She is a member of the Institute Fr. Bull, a multidisciplinary group working on influence of new technologies on different areas like decision in a complex environment, in complex system security, medicine, influence of nature on artificial brains and machines. She is frequently invited to talk at the international conferences. She is an author and co-author of over 100 international publications and books. She is also a member of the Club of Rome. Leif, we're going to begin with the design for the cover of this book and your inspiration and intent for the readers to look closely at the cover. The old saying, you cannot judge a book by its cover, may not be poignant for this delicious book. So Leif, talk to us about the cover of this book.
The cover of the book is very much based on the skill of Asian balancing of plates at the same time. So you have to have these 8 plates rotating. Otherwise, one of them fall, and then it might create that the other ones are falling also. And it's the same in cooking. You have to have a multi-lateral skill to handle the cooking, and that goes especially for society. As one of my friends said, that to run a business and be a director of it is very simple versus being a city mayor and handling all those dimensions. And then you can think about the president of a nation. So the political leadership is really world-class cooking. And Eunika inspired me to bridge it to the French cooking. And it's a little story somewhere in the book telling about how the world-class champion of cooking, Paul Bocuse, was slightly unhappy with the situation, that he started the Golden Award for world-class cooking. But after some years, it showed that it was not French cooking that was world-class, it was other countries. So he was very sad that this happened, and this goes for other labels as well. Many countries are making rankings of innovation and things like that. And it's a very tough situation to be on the edge. So therefore you need to have a recipe for continuous learning and continuous anticipation and continuous prototyping and innovation. And this is something that I learned when I was running and developing our Future Center many years ago. Now there are at least 100 of them around the world, a major proportion in Asia. But this cover of the book is absolutely fascinating to start to think about how are you balancing all the plates? How many can you have, you yourself? So after this, looking at this program, have a look at it and test it and see if you can balancing at more than 2. And then you have another 5 to go to come up to 8. And some of the world-class balancing artists are balancing more than 8.
Wonderful. That's very interesting. Thank you. So in the front of the book, there's a quote from Jean-Éric Albert. He says, starts with the word cooking, making good food with available ingredients and making it with pleasure. Innovation, making something new and using knowledge from science, information from the market. There are great similarities between cooking and innovation. Eunika, would you like to expound on that?
Maybe just I comment the plates, because Leif said 8 plates. Each plate represents also the challenge to face. And for example, if we consider this person rotating the plates is a president, he has to solve all these challenges in the same time without failing. It's innovation.
Wonderful, thank you. Eunika, this will also be a question or a comment for you to make. In the front of the book, you also say that many factors influence the current state of society and generate new challenges. You propose that we consider societal innovation using an analogy with cooking because it requires thinking about ingredients, know-how, and context. It refers to the ecosystem dynamics connecting various components requiring multiple resources with the aim of sustainable well-being. Would you please speak to that?
Yes, and we selected this analogy between cooking and society because in the restaurant you have a chef, and chef is initiator of maybe initiator of societal innovation. Then chef has a team, and the initiator of societal innovation need the people to work with, need to realize the ideas. Then he or she needs the recipe for that. And we have a concept of plate, of meal. And for this meal, we need ingredients. It is the same for the success of societal innovation. We need ingredients, and we need to expertise how to put these ingredients together to prepare the nice meal and tasty meal and for health and happiness of the people. It's a strong analogy with societal innovation. And we have to share in the kitchen, chef shares the value. And we have traditional value as traditional cooking, as Leif mentioned about Bocuse, and the new cooking. And it's necessary to have a sort of continuous feedback with clients to keep this still nice, attractive, tasty, and healthy.
Lovely, thank you. So in chapter 1, you talk about the emerging landscape, paradoxes, and challenges in this environment that we are, the society that we are in today. And you talk about planet in boiling and societal innovation. So Leif, would you please speak to chapter 1?
Yes. Eunika has just mentioned societal innovation, as you also. And when I phrased it many years ago, it was based on that I picked up and learned from the founder of Visa. He said that we are living in an era of institutional failure. And therefore, he created and innovated the Visa organization. In French, it was called the Carte Bleue once upon a time. But now we are actually seeing that the societal framework is also cracking in many, many countries. So the need for another boiling is extremely important. And perhaps it's not the boiling, it's the micro oven that is needed. And the micro oven for new types of schooling, new types of defense, and new types of healthcare. And if you just take the recipes as one dimension, the recipe is actually, from an accounting viewpoint, a loss. It's not an asset unless you can get the auditors to agree with you that this has a value according to their rules. And then you can put it into the balance sheet. If you cannot do that, then you might go bankrupt. Even if you have good recipes for the food, you go bankrupt. And therefore, what we start to see in this global boiling is a tremendous shift. A shift from trade of goods, timber, etc., to trade of services, financial services. But even more, the third iteration is trade on ideas. So how do you trade on your ideas or your recipes? And that is going to be the big multiplier of your wealth. So Lynn, how many recipes do you have in your fridge right now?
Gosh, that's a great question. Probably 300 or 400 if you look at it the way you're talking about.
So you start to see that this intangible asset is also a multiplier function. The old way of measuring wealth was based on 1 + 1 = 2 or 3. But the new trade on ideas is 1 + 1 is multiplied into more than 11.
Very interesting. Also in this,
Yes,
yes, it is seriously interesting. And also in this chapter, Eunika, you two speak to societal innovation, that it might be viewed from a different perspective. And you talk about influencing factors and the European Union strategy. And I'd like to hear you expound on that.
Yes, for example, European strategy set European Union set a strategy for innovation. This strategy evolves, and now at the beginning it was several. I don't remember how much topics. It was very complex, and now they have three main goals. It's a greening, digital transformation, and social innovation. But all these are connected because technology support all of these. And for example, technology, especially social network, make people aware that they have another condition in the other countries and they want to have this also in their country. And it makes the things very complex because there is many ingredients to consider together. And human is not able to manage all these ingredients together, and especially if they are, if these ingredients are dynamics and change in time. But that's why we need technology to do that.
Very good, very good. You also had mentioned in our previous conversations the word griff. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it's a mark of, it has several contexts for grief. The first meaning is you catch something, but it is also used for the big fashion companies as Chanel, Dior, etc. Then we said it is a grief, and if you have sales, it's a dégriffé. It means they cut the mark to sell this thing because the value was in the mark.
Very, very interesting.
and that is called, this mark is called intellectual property rights.
It's finished, intellectual property right. It's not respected anymore, except maybe in chemical, in vaccines. But for example, in technology, I advise to my students where they want to build the startups, think about rather Coca-Cola essence, about something hidden, and you provide black box and services with that, instead of applying for patents, because patent it's very costly, and the people are able to copy and bypass.
Thank you.
You're absolutely right. And this is extremely interesting related to coding. But we have a situation with music and the entertainment sector that is very, very much based on trading on intellectual property rights for music and for film, which means that the IPR sector is probably too powerful. But it takes us to the topic of where is the power? And as Eunika and you have been pointing towards, it's probably not in the paperwork, it is in the brain work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the fun of this book also, because the chapters move between the technical view, the knowledge innovation view, the intellectual capital view, and the societal view to the cooking, right? So your brain has to kind of move in between those two elements. And in the book, you show photos of the food prepared by a very famous restaurant. I almost wanted to tear the page out and eat it. It would look so good in your book. So I have to tell you, that was what was very, very lovely photos. So I want to conclude this first recording and this first interview with you by kind of teasing people to look at chapter 2, which is French cuisine, combining technology, imagination, vision, and ambition. And the first comment, or the first line, the first part of the chapter is fat cows and thin cows. So hopefully you'll purchase the book so you can follow along with us on this wonderful journey through this exciting and fun book that they have written. It's creative and it's fun, and it's something that we need right now, I think, after all of the COVID challenges that we've all faced, both from an isolation perspective personally, and I think also an isolation perspective globally. As we spoke earlier in the week, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that people need to be with people. We're made to be with people. And maybe using this book and some of the recipes that they have in it will get people talking about innovation and also about cooking. And so I conclude this interview. Do you have any closing comments, Eunika and Leif?
Eunika, go ahead.
You mentioned the COVID, the people are closed at home, are locked at home, and we have two possibilities: read and cook and create.
Leif?
Yeah, I think as you also have mentioned in the earlier conversation, I'm very fond of the concept of a happy Friday or happy morning, or trying to trigger the endorphins in your brain. And these endorphins are actually shaping a good relationship in between people versus the opposite. So therefore, I wish the reader of the book and welcome back to another conversation about endorphins and a happy future.
Wonderful. So stay tuned. The menu next week will be course number 2.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.